My beloved child, listen to me slowly and carefully, because I am not speaking to the crowd right now. I am speaking to you. I know your name. I know the sound of your breath when you wake up in the morning and the heaviness you feel before your feet even touch the floor. I know the years you have lived, the seasons you have survived, the strength you were forced to develop when no one else could carry the load for you. I am your shepherd, and a true shepherd does not lose track of his sheep simply because time has passed. You may think that because your hair has turned gray, because your body does not move the way it once did, or because your world has grown quieter, that you somehow matter less now. Hear me clearly. You do not age out of my care. You do not become invisible to me. In fact, the longer you live, the more closely I watch you, because I know how easily weariness settles into the soul after a lifetime of responsibility. I have seen the way you learned to be strong early. I watched you provide, protect, endure, and push forward even when no one thanked you for it. I saw you raise children, support family, show up to jobs when your heart was heavy, and keep going when rest felt like a luxury you could not afford. I did not miss a single moment. Even when you thought you were walking alone, I was walking just ahead of you, clearing paths you never saw. Now you are in a season where the noise has quieted, but the thoughts have grown louder. You replay conversations. You wonder if you did enough, if you chose correctly, if your future will be safe. You worry about your health, about money lasting long enough, about becoming a burden, about what will happen when you can no longer do for yourself what you once did with ease. You do not always speak these fears out loud because you do not want to trouble anyone. But I hear them. I hear every single one. Do not confuse your silence with my absence. I am closest to you now, even if it feels different than before. When you were younger, I carried you by pushing you forward. Now, I carry you by asking you to slow down, to lean, to rest. This is not abandonment. This is intimacy. A shepherd walks closer to the sheep that are tired, not farther away. I know how anxiety creeps in quietly at this stage of life. It does not shout like it once did. It whispers. It shows up at night when the house is still. It tightens your chest when you think about tomorrow. It disguises itself as just being realistic or just being careful. But I tell you the truth now. That weight you are carrying was never meant to rest on your shoulders. I did not design you to manage the future alone. I did not ask you to predict outcomes, control time, or hold everything together by sheer willpower. You learned to do that because life demanded it of you, not because I commanded it. There is a difference between surviving and trusting. You have survived much. Now I am calling you to trust me in a deeper way than you ever have before. When I say I am your shepherd, I am not speaking poetically. I am stating my role. A shepherd knows when a sheep is limping even if it keeps walking. A shepherd notices when a sheep is quiet, not because it is content, but because it is exhausted. I know where you are worn down. I know where you are pretending to be fine. And I know exactly how much longer you can carry what you have been carrying. That is why I am interrupting you now. You may feel embarrassed that anxiety still finds you after all these years. You may think you should be past this by now. Listen to me. Anxiety is not proof that you lack faith. It is proof that you are human and that you have been carrying more than I ever asked you to carry. Faith does not mean never feeling afraid. Faith means bringing your fear to me instead of letting it rule you. I am not disappointed in you. I am not frustrated with your questions. I am not shaking my head at your worry. I am inviting you to release it. I am commanding you gently but firmly to stop holding what I have already offered to take. When I told you to cast your cares on me, I meant exactly that. I was not offering a suggestion. I was giving you an instruction rooted in love. You do not need to prove anything to me anymore. You do not need to earn rest. You do not need to justify your exhaustion. You have lived long enough. You have given enough. Now I am asking you to trust that I can shepherd you through what remains, just as faithfully as I shepherded you through what has already passed. Stay with me here. Do not rush ahead. Do not skim past these words. Let them settle. This chapter is not about fixing everything. It is about remembering who is responsible for you. You are my sheep, and I do not abandon my own, especially not when they are tired. My dear child, I want you to pause with me here. Do not read this quickly. Do not treat these words as something familiar that you already understand. I am speaking now about the weight you have been carrying, and I need you to hear me not just with your mind, but with your spirit. I see how heavy your heart feels, even when your days look quiet on the outside. I see how responsibility has followed you for so long that you no longer remember what it feels like to set it down. You learned early how to carry burdens. Life trained you to do it. You carried families, jobs, obligations, expectations, and disappointments. You carried people who leaned on you and circumstances that gave you no choice but to be strong. Over time, carrying became normal. You stopped asking whether you were meant to hold all of it, and you simply assumed that this was your role. But hear me now. Just because you have carried something for a long time does not mean it was ever yours to carry. The weight I am speaking of is not just physical, it is the quiet weight of concern that settles into your chest when you think about tomorrow. It is the emotional weight of memories, things you wish you had said differently, moments you replay, losses that still ache. It is the mental weight of planning, worrying, calculating, and preparing for every possible outcome so that nothing catches you off guard. You tell yourself this is wisdom, but much of it is fear wearing the mask of responsibility. I did not design your mind to live in constant alert. I did not form your heart to be a storage place for endless worry. You were created to walk with me, not to replace me. Yet somewhere along the way, you began doing my job for me. You began trying to control what only I can hold. You began guarding the future as if it depended entirely on you. And that is why you feel tired in ways sleep does not fix. I need you to understand something very clearly. When I ask you to give me your burdens, I am not asking because I am symbolic comfort. I am asking because I am capable. I am not overwhelmed by your fears. I am not strained by your questions. I am not limited by time, age, money, or health. What feels crushing to you is light in my hands. What feels impossible to you is ordinary to me. You worry because you care deeply. That is not wrong, but worry becomes a burden when you refuse to release it. Concern becomes anxiety when you hold on to it, as if letting go would mean neglect. You think that if you stop worrying, something will fall apart. But hear me carefully. Things do not fall apart because you stop worrying. They fall into place when you trust me. I know you have been telling yourself that you cannot afford to let go. You think your vigilance is what has kept you safe all these years. But the truth is this: I am the one who kept you. When doors closed, it was my protection. When provision arrived at the last moment, it was my hand. When you survived seasons you thought would destroy you, it was my strength carrying you even when you believed it was your own. You were never alone in your strength. You were supported even when you did not realize it. And now I am asking you to acknowledge that truth by changing how you carry what remains. This season of life is not meant to be carried the same way as the earlier ones. You do not need to grip so tightly anymore. You do not need to brace for impact at every turn. I am asking you to loosen your hands. You may be afraid of what happens when you stop carrying everything. You may fear feeling vulnerable, dependent, or exposed. But listen to me. Dependence on me is not weakness, it is alignment. Vulnerability with me is not danger, it is safety. I am not asking you to drop your responsibilities irresponsibly. I am asking you to stop carrying the emotional and spiritual weight that belongs to me. Let me carry your fear about your body. Let me carry your fear about your finances. Let me carry your fear about your family and what lies ahead. These things do not become more secure in your grip. They become lighter when placed in mine. I do not need you to understand how I will handle them. I need you to trust that I will. You have been strong for a long time. You have been reliable. You have been the one others depended on. Now I am telling you that it is safe to rest in my care. It is safe to stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. It is safe to stop punishing yourself with worry. Obedience in this season looks like release. I am not rushing you. I am inviting you. I am commanding you gently but firmly to lay down what is crushing you. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now. Because the weight you are carrying is not proof of love or responsibility. It is proof that you forgot who your shepherd is. Stay here with me. Let this truth settle. In the next chapter, I will speak to you about why I insist on this release and what begins to change the moment you obey me. My child, listen to me with the same seriousness you would give a final instruction. I am not speaking casually now, and I am not offering you a comforting thought to consider when you feel like it. I am giving you a command born out of love and wisdom. When I tell you to release your anxiety to me, it is not because I want to see if you will obey. It is because I know what anxiety does to you, and I refuse to watch you slowly wear yourself down under a weight that does not belong to you. You have lived long enough to know that anxiety is not harmless. It does not simply pass the time. It reshapes the way you think. It narrows your vision. It steals your peace quietly, one thought at a time, until even good moments feel fragile. I see how it has followed you into your later years, attaching itself to your health, your future, your family, and the unknown days ahead. I see how it disguises itself as prudence and planning, but underneath, it is fear trying to rule where trust should live. I command you to release anxiety because it competes with me. It asks for the same space in your heart that belongs to me alone. You cannot be fully led by me while you are also led by fear. You cannot listen clearly to my voice when your mind is constantly rehearsing what might go wrong. Anxiety is not neutral. It pushes you to rely on yourself instead of resting in my care. Do not misunderstand me. I am not asking you to deny reality. I am asking you to stop letting fear interpret it. There is a difference between awareness and anxiety. Awareness observes. Anxiety assumes. Awareness prepares wisely. Anxiety imagines endlessly. When you allow anxiety to guide you, you begin to live as if I am absent, even when I am standing right beside you. You may ask why I speak so firmly about this now. It is because this stage of your life requires clarity, not confusion. Peace is not optional in this season. It is necessary. You cannot afford to spend the years ahead consumed by worry, replaying the past, or fearing the future. I want you present. I want you rested. I want you able to recognize my hand in the small, quiet blessings I am still giving you every day. Anxiety keeps you tense when I want you receptive. It keeps you guarded when I want you open. It keeps you exhausted when I want you attentive. That is why I do not simply comfort anxiety. I confront it. I command you to release it because I know it will not loosen its grip on you unless you choose obedience over habit. You have become accustomed to carrying worry as if it were part of your identity. You say, "This is just how I am now." Hear me clearly. Anxiety is not who you are. It is something you have learned, not something I created. And what has been learned can be unlearned through trust and obedience. When I tell you to give me your anxiety, I am asking for a deliberate act. This is not about a feeling. It is about a decision. Every time a fearful thought arises, you choose where it goes. You either keep it and let it grow, or you hand it to me and let me deal with it. Obedience looks like repetition. You release it again and again, as many times as it tries to return. You may think that releasing anxiety means you will become careless or unprepared. That is not true. Trust in me does not make you passive. It makes you aligned. When you trust me, you act from peace, not panic. You think more clearly. You hear my guidance more distinctly. You move with wisdom instead of urgency. I am not commanding you to release anxiety because I am distant from your struggles. I am commanding you because I am close enough to carry them. I am not overwhelmed by your uncertainty. I am not threatened by your questions. I am not confused by the future you cannot see. I already stand in it. You have spent many years trying to be strong. Now, I am asking you to be obedient. Obedience in this season will bring you more peace than strength ever did. Let me lead you. Let me hold what you cannot control. Let me quiet what keeps your mind racing. This command is not a burden. It is an invitation to rest. When you obey me here, something begins to shift inside you, and that shift is what we will speak about next. Stay with me. Do not rush ahead. When you are ready, I will show you what changes the moment you finally trust me fully. My beloved child, listen to me now with a quiet heart, because what I am about to tell you is not dramatic, loud, or forceful. The greatest changes rarely are. When you finally obey me and release what you have been gripping for so long, the shift does not always announce itself with fireworks. It begins gently, like the easing of a clenched hand, like a breath you did not realize you were holding finally leaving your body. The first thing that changes is not your circumstances. It is you. Your shoulders lower, your mind slows, your heart begins to soften instead of bracing. You notice that the world has not collapsed because you stopped worrying. The sun still rises, the day still unfolds, and somewhere deep inside a quiet realization forms. I am still in control. You have lived many years believing that peace would come once everything was settled, once questions were answered, once the future felt secure. But peace does not come from certainty. It comes from trust, and trust is born the moment you obey me, even when you do not fully understand how things will work out. When you trust me, your nights begin to change. Sleep becomes deeper, not because every concern has vanished, but because you are no longer rehearsing them endlessly. You begin to rest, knowing that I remain awake. You stop trying to solve tomorrow while lying in today's bed. Your body responds to this surrender in ways you did not expect. Tension loosens, your breathing deepens, your thoughts lose their sharp edges. You also begin to notice my presence in ways you had forgotten. Anxiety made you inward-focused, constantly scanning for threats and problems. Trust turns your attention outward again. You see small kindnesses. You feel gratitude return in quiet moments. You recognize that I have been guiding you all along, even when you thought you were navigating alone. Obedience to me does not remove responsibility from your life, but it removes the crushing pressure that came from believing everything depended on you. You still make choices, you still plan wisely, but now you do so without fear ruling your decisions. You act from peace rather than urgency. You respond instead of react. Another change begins within your spirit. The constant inner noise softens. That critical voice that says you should have done more, been better, prepared harder, begins to lose its authority. You realize that your worth was never measured by how well you managed life. Your value has always rested in being mine. You begin to understand that this season of your life was never meant to be filled with dread or constant vigilance. It was meant to be a season of reflection, wisdom, and quiet joy. Anxiety robbed you of that by convincing you that rest was irresponsible. Trust restores it by reminding you that rest is obedience. When you obey me here, you also give permission for healing to begin. Some of your worry has been stored in your body for years. I know where it sits. I know how it affects your heart, your digestion, your sleep, your strength. As you release control, your body follows your spirit. Healing does not always come instantly, but it begins the moment you stop fighting me. You also become more present with the people around you. Anxiety kept you distracted, half here, half living in imagined futures. Trust brings you back into the moment. Conversations deepen. Laughter feels lighter. You notice the faces you love instead of silently calculating what might go wrong next. You may think obedience to me means giving something up. In truth, it gives you something back. It gives you the ability to enjoy what is right in front of you. It gives you clarity. It gives you peace that does not depend on circumstances behaving well. And let me tell you something important. I am not finished with you. Trust does not mean waiting passively for life to end. It means walking with me into whatever remains with confidence instead of fear. There are still moments of joy ahead. There are still conversations, insights, blessings, and quiet victories waiting for you. Anxiety would have you believe your best days are behind you. I tell you they are unfolding differently, not disappearing. When you obey me, you stop fighting shadows and start walking in light. You stop guarding yourself from imagined harm and start receiving what I am giving. You stop asking, what if everything goes wrong? And begin asking, what if I am held no matter what? My child, I did not bring you this far to abandon you now. I did not shepherd you through storms only to leave you exposed in calm waters. Trust me here, obey me here. Let me carry what you cannot. This is where everything truly changes, not because life becomes predictable, but because you finally allow me to be your shepherd again. Rest now. You are safe with me.